right, I think everyone's here. Yeah. So I'll just take a second. Let the assistant town manager get seated.
You're always waiting on me every time.
That's okay. No, but good evening, everyone. This is a town council special meeting. Our business tonight, we had back in March, we met with the state Department of Transportation regarding Phase 3 of the downtown alignment for the Farmington Canal Trail. We didn't quite have enough time, we felt, to go through everything we needed to. So we asked them to come back so we can spend some more time going through what their proposal is right now, have the council ask some questions we didn't get to ask in March. At this point, this meeting, it's not a public meeting in the sense we're not going to have public comment at this meeting tonight. I would encourage anyone who does want to make any comments after seeing what is presented tonight. We do have an email address. You can certainly send some information in, or we do meet on October 7th is our next regular meeting, which is next Monday. We do have public comments during our regular meetings, so you're more than welcome to come and give us some comments in person if you would choose to do it that way. So setting it up, I guess I'm going to be turning it over, and we're going to get a bit of a presentation. I don't know if the town manager, do you have anything you need to say before we kick it off?
No, Bill Hogan is here and ready to proceed, I believe, and I don't think there's anything that he needs from us. And we're hooked up with the big screen, and we also have Nutmeg here this evening as well to broadcast or tape and broadcast so that we can reach as many people as we can. But I think it's pretty straightforward. We'll hand off to
All right. Good evening.
Good evening. Hey, thank you for having us. My name is Bill Hogan. I work for the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I am the project engineer for the Plainville section of the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which consists of 3 separate sections, including Phase 1, 2, and 3, totaling about 5 miles of multi-use trail that we're going to eventually build in the town of Plainville. Tonight's meeting, we will be focusing on the downtown trail alignment. So this is the southern section of the Phase 3 alignment. With me here today, I have my project team, Scott Bushy. He is our principal engineer. Stephen Hall, our project manager. Myself, Bill Hogan. And then Shiny and Shiv are some of our designers here in the back. Also with us tonight are members of the Capital Regional Council of Governments. Matt, sitting in the back there. So before we dive into the downtown section, just wanted to provide an update on some of the other phases of the trail. Our Phase 1 section, the southern section, is in the final stages of design, wrapping up in design this March, and looking to start construction next fall, 2025. So that's going to be our Town Line Road, Southington border section, up to Norton Park. So it's about 3/4 of a mile of trail through the woods there. Our northern section, known as Phase 2 up top here, this is from the trail connection up at Northwest Drive, approximately 2 miles south, through different wooded sections, through the Public Works and along Tomaso Nature Park, and then under Route 72. That is also in final design. We're getting final permits and submitting property maps. So there we're looking for design completion summer 2025, with an anticipated construction start around winter 2025 into 2026. So those 2 phases are moving ahead in final design, which leaves us with our Phase 3 section. This is going to be our middle section right in here, and this is what we call the downtown alignment. Now for today's discussion, we'll be talking mostly about Norton Park up to Route 372. And right now we are in preliminary design still, with anticipated construction start of fall 2025. Really for the southern section of the downtown, we're still kind of in conceptual phases. So what is the purpose and need of the trail, the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail in Plainville? Oh yeah.
It's on already.
Hello. Okay, so our purpose is to close the final gap in the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail in Plainville, again consisting of 5 miles. Now, we don't just want to close it, but we need to provide the safest and most accessible facility for all users. So, when constructed, we're not looking at a couple people using a trail a day. On weekends and during peak seasons, we can be seeing up to 1,000 users in a day. So, it's going to be a very busy section. And then with that, based on, okay. Again, based on the number of users, we're not talking about avid cyclists. We're talking about families. We're talking about, elderly, people with disabilities. All ages and skill sets are going to be utilizing this trail. So, we're not looking to build a trail for Lance Armstrong. We're looking to build it for everybody here. So when we met back in last spring, back in March, we talked about 2 separate alignments. The first alignment that we talked about was the Pierce Street alignment, which is shown here on the screen. So that takes primarily, so looking from Broad Street, so north would be pointed to, this would be the right here. The trail would follow along the south side of Broad Street to the east, then cross Pierce Street, head north, and then it would have to head back to the west in order to tie back into Route 177. Now, because of this significantly longer section of trail along the roadways, what you're going to see is a lot more driveway crossings, a lot more street crossings, and greater exposure for pedestrians and cyclists to the adjacent roadside. So, that's a significant safety issue, as well as there's a significant likelihood that, or high likelihood that, once users have taken this trail section a couple times, they're going to realize I can get from A to B between this intersection and this intersection and save myself 6 minutes on a bicycle, and avoid all these driveways and streets, or 15 minutes walking. So over time, people are going to completely bypass this section of trail. So due to the safety concerns that we've noted and the likelihood that this section is going to most likely be skipped by the everyday user, this design we're not proceeding with this design at this time. So where does that leave us? We looked into what we call a preferred alignment, Route 177, Alternative 3. So basically from Norton Park, the trail would continue north on Route 177 through the intersection of Broad Street, and then continue north through the intersection of Route 372, and then cross the Pequabic River. Significant advantages here. Entirely on a state route. It's a much shorter section from the park to this crossing of the river here. And again, for safety, we're looking to get users from A to B in the safest possible way. So, with reduced exposure along the roadway, less driveway crossings, less street crossings, we're going to have a safer trail. Now, this green line here, this represents a spur trail. So this spur trail would be along the south side of Route 372, would be a little bit narrower, about 10 feet wide, and this would serve as a connectivity to the downtown section. And, our intent with this design is to help promote users to go to the downtown section and help promote the local businesses there. So, we're trying to accomplish 2 different goals here. One, get the everyday user from A to B in the safest manner possible, while still maintaining that downtown connectivity and support for the local businesses. So here it's kind of hard to see, and we have a printout of it over there. That is the downtown section color plan. You guys are free to take a look. I'm going to kind of zoom in on this and talk about some of the features because I know we can't see anything here, but when we last met with the town council, there were a couple different topics of discussions that we wanted to follow up on. So Route 177, how the roadway was going to shift and how that would impact adjacent owners. The intersections of Route 177 at Broad Street and then Route 372 at West Main Street, 177, how are those intersections going to be designed? How are they going to accommodate truck turning movements with us shifting the roadway? Other noted concerns were loss of on-street parking on Route 372, and then finally also conversion of the northernmost access of Pier Street to one-way, and I'll get into that. So that was designed for safety concerns. Just give me a second here. I'm going to switch screens. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start at Norton Park, and then we're going to work our way north along the trail, and then we'll come down the spur section. And then I'll kind of zoom in on different features here so you can kind of see what our proposed design is and what some of those impacts are. All right, so let's start over here. So the trail would follow along Norton Park, the existing gravel path, and head to the east where it would then cross Washington Street. At this crossing here, we would include different pedestrian safety amenities such as a rapid flashing rectangular beacon. And then the trail would continue to the north along Route 177. See, does it want to load? Yeah. Just give me a second here. I might have to close out some of these files and reopen this. Sorry, folks. All right, we're back. Okay, so first I'm going to kind of look at so this is South Washington, Route 177. It's a little bit hard to see here, so I'll kind of explain it. But so in order for us to build a 12-foot trail along the east side of Route 177, that would require us to shift the roadway, the center line of the roadway, approximately 7 to 8 feet to the west, and then tighten up the roadway geometry a little bit. So what does that mean? We would have 11-foot lanes and 2-foot shoulders in both directions, along with the 5-foot center line shift, a grass buffer with potential street trees, for to help with traffic calming, and they're a nice amenity to have, as well as the 12-foot trail, and then we would have to put back our 5-foot sidewalk. Now, this would require sliver property acquisitions along both sides of Route 177. Approximately 1 to 2 feet acquisition on the eastern side of Route 177, and then slightly larger, approximately 5 to 6 feet along the western side of Route 177. And then we have this image up there on that table. Here's kind of a graphic rendering of what the trail will look like. To scale as best as we can. We don't have graphic design degrees, but so this would include our 11-foot lanes, 2-foot travel lanes, our grass buffer, and then our 12-foot trail along the east side of Route 177. So that's a pretty typical condition for for South Washington Street. So I'm going to kind of jump up to the intersection here. This is Broad Street at Route 177. So some safety features we're looking to implement here. Come on, man. Yeah, we're going to swap it. luck with this computer. All right, so hopefully I can get 10 minutes here without this dying on me. Sorry. Okay, so safety features at the intersection of Broad Street and Route 177. So what we'd be looking to do here is soften some of the curve radii, so that's going to help with our turning movements, and I'll put up a graphic on that in a couple minutes. We're also looking to install a raised intersection, so it's basically elevating the intersection slightly, starting at the crosswalks to help slow and calm traffic coming into the intersection, and that's going to provide greater safety for our trail users and pedestrians. So it's not a speed hump. These are designed with a kind of a curve pattern, and they're only about 3 inches high in height. So basically, we'll be raising the intersection slightly to help slow speeds. Additional measures we would implement at the intersection. This would have no turn on red for all right turns, and would have an exclusive pedestrian phase. So what does that mean? That means that if you ever push the ped button, every light will turn red, and pedestrians will have full access to the intersection, and vehicles won't be moving until those pedestrian crossings are complete. So again, we're still at the same location here in this graphic. We are looking at the intersection. So that pink or that magenta line, kind of like a T-Mobile color, that is going to be your existing roadway geometry. So that's the existing edge of roadway. And then your black line is going to represent the proposed pavement. So what you can see there is we're softening the radii or the curves at each of those turns, which is going to help with our turning movement. So at this intersection, we're improving truck turning movements for all movements, and then I have a couple green check marks here. So 3 of the 4 right turning movements we're going to be meeting our design standards for either box truck or our larger tractor trailer truck. And then in this configuration, all left turn movements are improved, and this right turn movement, the only one that doesn't have a checkbox here is in the bottom left. So Our design decision was to maintain that existing turning conditions of the existing radii there, so that we wouldn't have significant impacts to that business there. So, in order to get a larger truck in, we would have to take a significant number of parking spaces from that business. Okay, so now we're gonna head north of the intersection. So now we're looking at Washington Street north of Broad Street. Pretty much the same exact design concept. We're going to be shifting the center line over, tightening the roadway, and then building the 12-foot trail along the east side of the roadway. So kind of pull up a rendering of what that looks like here. So in order for us to accommodate this design, it's a little bit less of a roadway shift. We're moving the roadway about 4 feet to the west. Same concepts with the grass buffer, street trees for improved traffic calming, or 12-foot trail, and then more or less the same kind of private property acquisitions on the east side of the roadway. On the west side of the roadway, we're a little bit tighter. It looks like we're looking at about 2 to 3-ish feet of sliver acquisition along the west side of Route 177. And then here is another kind of visual rendering of what the trail will look like, or could possibly look like, along Route 177, given the dimensions that I just discussed. So I'm going to jump to another rendering, because I want to note something here. So this is in a similar location, so we're about a few hundred feet north of Broad Street. So this is 31 Washington Street, and the other side of the street is 32 Washington Street. So along Route 77, most driveways have some kind of K-turn or turnaround capabilities, but not all of them do. So, if we were to advance this design, we would meet with property owners along Route 177, and a possible solution would be to build K-turn driveway extensions for them to help accommodate. So when they pull into their driveway, they can make a 3-point turn and then back in and back out. Okay, so continuing north, same concept with the trail until we reach the intersection of Route 372, West Main Street, and 177. Again, here we have a lot of the same safety features. We're proposing that raised crosswalk, potentially no turn on red for the right turn movements, softer radii for those truck turning movements, and high visibility signal heads. So basically just make it easier for everyone at night to see these signal. Additionally, with all of our trail crossings, wherever we need to increase illumination for the safety of those crossings, we would do so. Again, looking at the same intersection, we're at 372 at 177. The pink line, that is going to be your existing edge of road line, and then the black, the blacktop, that's our proposed roadway surface. So for both the right turn movements from Route 177 onto 372 heading west, and then from 372 eastbound onto Broad Street to the 177 to the south, we are improving those turning capabilities to meet our tractor trailer truck. And then on the other side of the intersection, again, we're improving those turning movements, but we're going to maintain the existing movement that's there in order to avoid significant acquisitions from those two businesses at the corner. So that's going to be your northeast corner and your southeast corner. Now, staying at this intersection here along this is now the southeast corner, one thing we're looking to do to help promote that connectivity to the downtown, to help support the local businesses, is to provide this community corner along the southeast corner here. So it may look, these are just other locations that we found within the area. Something similar to this where we can provide benches, plantings, kiosks, that you might want to put advertisements for the local businesses, so they can kind of help attract users to use that spur trail to make that downtown connectivity. And again, here's just kind of some more images of those amenities that we'd be considering, planters, bench, and then again, some form of sign directing users to the downtown section and, how long that trip is going to take. So on a bicycle, we're looking at a 4-minute ride, and then walking, we're looking at a 10-minute ride, and potentially having advertisements that rotate out for the local businesses. Okay, so now taking a look at our spur section, it's a fairly similar design concept that we were looking at on Route 177. So in order for us to get a 10-foot spur trail along the south side of the roadway there, we're going to have to tighten up the roadway by we're going down to 11-foot lanes and 2 to 4 foot shoulders, depending on which side, and then maintaining the existing sidewalk on the northern side. So we want to tie in to the existing sidewalk where it falls today. And then again, I'll kind of pull up this here. All right, so in order for us to do that, so we want to keep the existing sidewalk basically exactly where it is now on that north side. So in order for us to do that, we have to shift the center line approximately 4 to 5 feet to the north along the roadway. We have 11-foot lanes, 2-foot shoulders, and 5-foot sidewalk on the north side would remain. 2-foot buffer, either grass or stamp to match what's in the downtown section of Plainville, and then a 10-foot trail for that spur connection. And here we're looking at fairly sliver impacts as well, 1 to 2 feet property acquisition along the south side of Route 372. Okay. Okay, so now we'll jump to Pierce Street here. And what we're looking to do on Pierce Street is convert the northern end of the street access to one-way. The reason we're looking to do that is to increase safety at this crossing. So because of this building here, number 58 West Main Street, there is the sight line from this side street is non-existent. So it's it's unsafe condition for both the motorists and the trail users trying to cross here. So what we would do is convert this access to one way, so you can make a right or a left from West Main Street onto Pierce Street. Additionally, we have this yellow area here, which would be marked as no parking, and this would be pavement. And the reason we have this here is because we know the fire department's here. We do not want to impede their access down to this end of the neighborhood. So this area would stay paved area, and it would allow for the fire engine to make their right turn movement down this street. Additionally, we would provide kind of a cul-de-sac here. This would be a stop sign for users coming from the north here, and this is going to allow for your everyday, your pickup truck, your passenger car to easily make a U-turn here, and then your delivery trucks may have to make a 3-point turn to move around and get back. So another thing we'd want to do is add signage down at the southern end to say no outlet or no through trucks at this intersection. So again, kind of staying in this Pierce Street, Route 372 area, we want to talk about, because the town had brought up concerns with loss of on-street parking on West Main Street. So the address of concern were 100 West Main Street, the Vital Life Services, and the residential addresses of 98 and 94. There's approximately 4 on-street parking spaces for each of those, so 8 on-street parking spaces there. Now, each of these facilities do have parking in the rear. We kind of went out, we took a look. We would have to have discussion with these owners in the future. However, with this spur connection to the downtown section, and then eventually later to the New Britain trails that are going to be constructed with connection to the fast track, we believe that the gain of this spur trail along Route 72 outweighs the loss of a few spaces on the roadway. Okay, so kind of where the trail spur will tie into the downtown section. So here we are just a few hundred feet to the east of Pierce Street. We would tie into the existing roadway width, maintain the on-street parking to the east of Pierce Street, and then again we have this yellow area here where we would like to provide maybe like a concrete pad or a stamp pad for bike racks, benches, etc., so people can dismount and then walk into town and visit the businesses within the downtown district. So I believe that is all I have, that I would like to present to you today. At this time, if there are any questions or anything you would like to discuss.
I have a question.
All right.
When would the start date be?
What was that?
When would the start date be for phase 3?
Pending acceptance of the alignment, the anticipated schedule would have construction start fall 2027.
And end when? Finish when?
We haven't done a calendar day estimate. That's when we take all of our construction quantities and actually figure out how many days it would build. Based on the size of this project, we're looking at 2 miles, I would say at least two years.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered this and I just missed it or what, but the signals that you have at the intersections of Broad Street and South Washington, Washington, and 372 and 177, is that all manual triggers, or is there some other kind of trigger that, I know in Simsbury, when someone is coming up to Hot Meadow, there's something in that pathway that triggers the blink.
Sensor that triggers.
Right, there's sensors there that trigger the blinking lights that let drivers on Hot Meadow know that somebody's coming to the trail.
So I don't have that answer right now. Those are details we would sort out later in the design phase, because that's going to be where we're looking to get our traffic people involved, traffic electrical involved. Because it's an intersection, because it is an intersection roadway, especially with the two state routes, I would think most likely it would be your typical pedestrian push button.
Right.
However, these are things that we can discuss with our electrical folks for sure.
Right, but pedestrians would not have the right of way then, correct? Is that-
No, it would be a typical intersection crossing, so
Okay,
you would push the button and then you would get your signal to
Okay.
cross.
all right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a few questions on land acquisition.
Sure.
You said a sliver on one side?
Yeah, so a sliver acquisition it's a taking more or less along the property, but really not of significant width.
How many feet?
That's going to depend property to property. Within this area, we're looking at approximately, depending on the side, I think we're looking at 2 to 4 feet north of Broad Street, and then 4 feet south of Broad Street, approximately 4 feet on the east side of the roadway, and then 5 to 6 feet on the west side of the roadway.
And these property owners will be compensated?
Yes, we have a right-of-way process where basically the state has a process where we have staff that would meet with them, negotiate with them, and then they would offer them compensation. I'm not the expert on that, so I don't want to.
If they refuse?
We have a process of. I don't want to get too in the weeds on this. We do have a process of eminent domain.
I know you don't want to get too far into the woods on this.
Sure, but they
Right,
would
you
still
got-
be compensated.
That's a very important question, because if we're going to allow people's property to be taken,
I understand what you're saying. Any alignment through the downtown section, you are going to have those property acquisitions. This acquisition is going to avoid your acquisitions on your your private town parcels, and it'll be strictly along the state right of way. So all the potential designs through Plainville will have right of way acquisition. It is really unavoidable.
okay.
Yeah, Bill, have there been any studies done of what the impact would be on traffic, especially with the, four roadways going into those two intersections, the one at West Main and Washington, and the one at Broad and Washington?
Sure, with every intersection reconfiguration, we would do a level of service analysis. Again, those are kind of details that we flesh out a little further in the design phase. So we do have some preliminary analysis done, but at the same time, right now we're looking for acceptance to kind of move the design ahead, and then we sort out those deeper design issues.
Because my concern would be, is traffic going to be really backed up? Yeah.
Yes.
Correct, understood. So again, we don't have those specific design details ironed out yet. And if the results did come back, our goal would be at least to try and maintain the existing, what we call level of service or traffic condition at those intersections. But also we want to consider safety for the pedestrian crossings at those intersections, right? So, I don't want to say that, it's something we have to consider, right? So if we want to promote safe crossings at this intersection, there could be potential, additional delays at these intersections. But right now we don't have that data, and I don't know that that's the case.
Okay, can I continue? Then also, now you said that the trail would be 12 feet south of Broad Street and 10 feet north of Broad Street?
So the Farmington Canal Trail section, so that would be from your Norton Park up to Route 372. That's the 12-foot wide trail
Right.
section.
Yep.
The spur section along Route 372, we're proposing a 10-foot wide trail.
And how about north from, on 177 from Broad?
North, that's going to be all 12 feet. We get a lot. We get a lot more room to work with there, and then eventually we cut through the woods.
Now, my other question, and I had asked this way back when I was first on the council, and we were looking at doing the trail as one big project, so we were talking about the middle section. Is there ever been any thought to making, instead of making it a combined walking and cycling trail in this particular section, just a cycling trail where there are sidewalks on the other side? And I say this as a walker, because I'll tell you, if there's a sidewalk on one side of South Washington, and there's a combined trail on the other, I will walk on the sidewalk. It would be a lot easier, you know? So I've always wondered, and I've asked that back then, I had submitted a question back in March too to you. Is there any thought to just making it, some of these middle sections, just a cycling path, so you could make it narrower and not have to take as much space from properties, for example?
So the design intent is we're trying to close the final gap in the Farmington Canal Heritage Trail, which is a multi-use trail network. Additionally, once you start getting into sidewalks and bike trails combined, I believe you're actually getting into larger right-of-way impacts as well. But we can at least discuss it. I think the purpose right now is to close a gap in the multi-use trail.
Yeah, and I know that's sort of been the line so far, but it's just, I continue to really wonder about that, about the redundancy of having a sidewalk and then a combined walking trail on the other side of the street.
We can at least say we will take a look. We'll look into it for sure.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else with a, yes?
Mr. Chairman, out of curiosity, where does this end in Plainville?
The north or the south end? Which one?
South end?
South end?
So this specific phase, or the phase 3 section that we're talking about tonight, or all of the trail?
Our end, as far as Plainville is concerned, where does it end?
Where does it meet Southington?
Oh, so
Where
it
it meets Southington?
down at Town Line Road, just at the intersection of Redstone Hill there, at the Southington border. And then on the northern end, we are tying in at the existing trailhead on Northwest Drive, adjacent to across the street from the airport.
So there's a part where it comes out of the park going south.
Mm-hmm.
Where does it go coming out of the park?
Heading south,
Yeah,
through the woods there. So they're behind the pool.
yeah.
So behind the pool, going directly south, there are woods there. So basically, we'd be going through the woods on top of what is known as the old towpath for the Farmington Canal.
And where does it come out?
It exits, it continues right along the canal there, and then it kind of veers to the east slightly and pops out right at Redstone Hill at the intersection there. So at Town Line Road and Redstone Hill. Do you know where those culverts are?
Yeah.
In between the houses and Robert Jackson and the industrial.
Exactly right there, yeah.
Okay, so Southington would come up to meet it?
Yeah, so Southington would be coming up Redstone Hill. As far as I know, they're building their trail along Redstone Hill, and they're going to tie in to our crossing.
They're on Redstone Road.
Redstone Road, I'm sorry.
All right, any follow-up, Dan, or you're all set?
All set.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Hey guys, just quick, something I was thinking of during this meeting that might help ease your mind a little bit. My name's Scott Bushy, I'm Principal Engineer for the State Highway Department, but I've been with you on the design of this project for quite a long time, and something I want you to consider. What we're looking for tonight is just approval to move ahead with the concept level plans for Phase 3. This is not a public information meeting.
Right.
We're really just looking for your support to take this to the next level. The next level for us is 30% design plans. where we have the edge of road detailed. We have a lot more information to bring you. All of the intersections you've asked about, we'll have done detailed capacity analysis on it. There'll be a lot more information when we come out again and go to the public. But we've looked at using Whiting Street through downtown. We've looked at Pierce Street through downtown, and really 177 looks like the route that most trail users are probably going to use. So in the interest of safety and making that route safety, where what you would expect most people are going to use, that's what we're asking here tonight, is to go to the next level. Something else I want you to consider: the funding for this project is secured. Capital Region Council of Governments applied for a RAISE grant a few years ago, and they were awarded the grant that's being applied for this project. It has to be spent and obligated by 2026. So we are in a situation at DOT as essentially your designers and engineers on this project to move it ahead so that we can obligate that money for 2026. If we don't use it by 2026, it's going to leave Connecticut and go back to federal government to be used somewhere else. But with your support for the 177 alignment today and the connection for the spur to the downtown that'll also provide a connection to the fast track section, we could proceed to the next level and start working on a preliminary design with a lot more detailed plans to come and bring you.
You have a question?
Yeah, I have a couple. First of all, I have a statement. I understand that the money would go back to the federal government, but I'm not gonna approve something just to approve it so the money doesn't go somewhere else. It needs to be right. You didn't bring up you didn't talk about Norton Park tonight until now. I have several concerns about the path through the park. The original plan I had seen from a few years ago was it goes behind the pool, crosses, what's the name of the road on the back? Norton Trail. Goes along the canal, turns left behind Hemingway Street, and then comes out to Broad Street. Now, when we talked in March, the trail went in front of the pool, up the existing walking path, and then out on South Washington Street. That walking path, on Saturday mornings, in between the parking lot and the pool, there's at least 100 kids every hour that are gonna be sharing the trail with bicycles. You're never gonna get me to agree to that. If the trail goes behind the pool and then connects, that's different. I'm all for and how wide would the trail be through the park? 12 feet, like everything else?
Yeah, approximately the same, yep.
Okay. So Norton Park Road is already small, so we would be moving into the grassy areas, soccer fields.
Yes, potentially, yep.
Okay. And that all that would be paved and maintained?
Yeah, so it would be paved. The intent of the trail maintenance would be with the town of Plainville to maintain the trail section.
Okay. Okay.
So we have looked at alignments through that wooded area to the north and coming down Broad Street. There are challenges with that, and we can always discuss further about that. But again, with the goal of safety, coming down Broad Street and coming to that intersection, again, we're looking at, the issue is going to be the additional driveway crossings and roadway crossings. Let me see if I can find. Let's see. Let me just go to this slide. And then we can follow up, we can follow up via email or further discussion on some of the other alignments that we looked at. Coming here through the north here, this is existing wetlands. So for us to build a trail through that section, that would all be on boardwalk structure. So that's a bridge structure that eventually would be on would be part of the town of Plainville's maintenance responsibility for this long section of boardwalk. Now, additionally, coming down here and then back up, our main concern is with the number of driveway crossings and the roadway crossings. If we want to have further discussions about terminating here and going north, we can at least talk.
Yeah, that's the only section of Broad Street I was talking about was, what's that, west of Broad, or west of 177. Is, and going through, that's all wetlands behind the houses on Hemingway Street.
Yep, yeah, so we've been back there, we've checked it out, so that's all wetland, so, you know, we can't go in and build a trail and fill in there, that's gonna be significant quantities of wetlands and a very high risk for permitting, so what we've done on some of the sections is build boardwalks, but again, that's a quite a long section of boardwalk structure.
How wide is the road right now between Broad Street and Norton Park?
Route 177?
Yeah.
On the top of my head, I don't know, probably around 30 feet, on top of my head,
29.
29.
If you're gonna add a 12-foot trail to that, I think your numbers are off on how much land acquisition you're gonna need. Very off.
Okay, well, we can take another look and we can have follow-up discussions. You know, right now, tonight's meeting, we're not looking to, you know, we're just looking to get the town at least to consider the alternative alignment, so, and then we can follow up next week with, you know, potentially a go-ahead or a no-go-ahead for initiating our design of that alignment.
Okay.
We're not looking for anybody here to say tonight, yes, we want to do this, no, we want to do this.
Okay.
You know, we have the week to, you know, sleep on it.
And by the way, I am 100% for the trail. I just need to make sure it's gonna be right.
Sure, and I understand your concerns, especially considering rights of way. And, you know, with all these alignments, we are going through an urban downtown section. There are going to be acquisitions. It's unavoidable.
My other concern with the acquisitions is resale value. I think people are gonna have a hard time selling their houses.
Unfortunately, I can't provide any.
I know.
Yeah.
And just, I believe you said now the traffic lanes are going to be 11 feet?
11 foot with 2 foot shoulders, yes.
Okay, and that would be how much difference from now?
Right now, they're about 11 foot lanes, but you're looking at 4 or 5 foot shoulders out there. Some of the lanes widen out to around 13 feet.
All right, my turn, I guess. I think trying to summarize, my concern is that back in March, this was kind of the first time we heard about this potential alignment. Or it was the first time I heard about it. And I don't think I missed anything because I've been here from the beginning about this. And I understand there's concerns with, you know, even behind the firehouse, because I think that's where we first started, was actually taking the trail behind the firehouse. And I understand that's just too wet. Just too many.
Yeah, that's a floodway, floodplain and
Okay.
floodway all back there.
And
Yes.
I just want to, just so everyone hears this at the same time, that, you know, there are reasons why you've probably moved in this direction. And some of the hesitancy I think you think with this body is that I was surprised when you guys came in March and presented what you presented, because like I said, I had not heard of this potential alignment. So I think what you're seeing tonight is just, you know, we're just trying to understand and make sure that we're doing what's right. And part of me you know, what, in the end, it feels like this is going to go forward almost no matter what. Because if we say no, the trail doesn't get completed. And you don't necessarily have to answer that tonight. But, you know, my concern is if we disagree with the alignment that you want, what would happen in that circumstance? You know, what's the...
Those are way above my pay grade. I
No,
can't
no,
really provide
and I
that answer
understand,
for
and
you.
that's why, and as we're talking tonight, we're not necessarily approving this tonight, we're just looking to move to the next step. So as we move to the next step, I think it's important to understand, you know, what authority we have as opposed to, you know, we're pretty far down the street on this one with the fact the funding's already there. You know, certain commitments have already been made based on some of those decisions. So, you know, I get uncomfortable when you tell me that you're going to need to take 5 or 6 feet of someone's front yard, and I'm oversimplifying it, or I'm you know, maybe exaggerating for some effect, but that's how the residents, when they call me or call probably any of us, are going to react to it. So, you know, that's why I'm hoping that we do have some time to kind of talk about this, maybe even, it sounds like, get some more specifics so we can all understand what's going to be happening. Because you mentioned eminent domain, and that's, I mean, that's,
So,
you know,
our right-of-way, we have a right-of-way process. You know, I don't want to, I'm not a right-of-way expert.
Yep,
I don't
no,
want
I
to speak
understand.
to that process. I understand that there are acquisitions associated with this trail. But again, any trail we're going to look through here, through this urban corridor, we are going to be acquiring property. So,
yep, yep.
you know, I don't want to like scare anybody. You know, that's just the reality of the situation.
Yep. Yeah.
As far as, you know, our next steps, again, we're looking, you know, at least just, you know, just start talking about it. We're not looking for anybody to say yes or no tonight.
No, I understand, and I just want you to understand from our perspective.
No, fully understand.
We're gonna have to take some very difficult phone calls most likely after this, and it just that we're on the same page, and, you know, in the end, not everybody's going to agree the best way to do things, but I think as long as we are thoughtful and we understand why we're doing it, at least, you know, I can look myself in the mirror and say, I think this is the best option before us. So, you know, so I just wanted to make sure we're all under, you know, it's not that anyone's against the bike trail. I think it's just a matter of, for me, it was how surprised I was in March and just making sure that I understand what's going on.
So again, my name is Stephen Hall, project manager. I just want to stress that we're still in the planning phase, right? What we're looking to do is get to a point that we can bring this to the public, to get their input, to coordinate with them. You know, a lot of the times with projects, we don't have this level of coordination before we even go to the public. So, you know, after this, if we're okay with progressing this, that would still be a lengthy public outreach process with lots of follow-on review studies before we even seek approval to go to the design phase from Federal Highways. So there's a long process. We're still very early on. You know, we're definitely not, you know, we're not too far ahead of this. We're still very early on in the planning process. You know, haven't shown the public this yet even, but we just want to make sure that, again, you can talk to your constituents and say that you vetted this out, and there's reasons X, Y, and Z why we believe this is the best alternative.
Yep. And we certainly don't, you know, I don't want to see this, you know, get to 2026 without us having the commitment, because you're right. If we don't get it, it's going to go somewhere else. But as Councilman Getterman said, you know, we also don't want to do something that we think is wrong, just so we can take the money. You know, so yeah. But thank you. I mean, I appreciate. I feel better now that we've kind of had this back and forth, and certainly it sounds like there will be a chance for public participation at some point, which I'm sure some people are going to want that opportunity to express their opinion.
Yes, we'll definitely, we have requirements to hold public information meetings for our public. Again, as Steve said, we are in, you know, this is preliminary, even concept design stages. You know, and we can have follow-up discussions for sure, you know, after you guys have had a chance to kind of digest and you know, talk it over. And I don't want you to think that we came to this overnight, you know. This was something that we looked at, and we vetted, you know, pretty heavily in design.
No, thank you. And I think it's important for people here tonight and the people that will be watching this later to understand that as well. So, thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I think one of the biggest nightmares we're going to have as far as traffic is concerned would be West Main and North Washington Street. That intersection, especially when a train is coming across the tracks over by West Main Pizza, and then the traffic is finally able to proceed, that intersection there is overwhelmed with cars. And then picture people hitting the trigger on the crossing that would stop cars from going through the traffic light. I think that is one of the biggest nightmares that we have to really take a look at. And lately, they've had an awful lot of construction on 177 and in the West Main and North Washington Street area, which has tied up traffic for considerable amounts of time. I'm just saying, I think that's going to be the biggest area of concern for me.
So to that point, we have, you know, preliminary traffic analysis at these intersections. One thing we do is we assume that every single cycle the pedestrian pushes that button. So we model worst case conditions, and then we can kind of compare that to how traffic operates today. One of the benefits of realigning these skewed intersections is they become more efficient. So we're going to get back some of that time by improving the geometrics of the intersection. But that's all a very thorough traffic analysis. And again, we assume a worst case condition so that if there's always someone pushing that button in every single cycle, you know, sometimes 30% of that phase is for pedestrians. And that's certainly a large portion of how the traffic operates, and that all gets baked in as like a worst case scenario.
Okay.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
follow? Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, just a few brief things. I've been a very enthusiastic supporter of the trail since I've been on the town council. But I would just ask that you perhaps look at this phase a little more creatively. It is unique. I don't know if you've dealt with any other towns that have it going smack through the middle of town in a very densely populated area. But just, try to be very open-minded, and maybe there are some very creative solutions that may not look exactly like the trail looks everywhere else, but that would work in this phase. And that's it.
Yes, go ahead.
I question it goes farther than the West Main intersection with 177. It goes north. When you cross the bridge, are you crossing the bridge that goes over to Pequabic, I guess it is?
Yep.
Yes, correct.
The trail is going over that bridge?
Yes, so the proposed design would be, we'll have to widen that bridge in order to get our trail across.
And then it'll go up from there? It'll go up the highway?
Correct, yep, so it'll continue north. Maybe I can pull up like Street View, I may be able to find,
You can't see the map from here.
yeah, so it's kind of hard, it's small here, but I'll kind of explain it moving north. So here, that green is 372. Yes, we would continue north, we would widen the bridge over the Pequabic River, follow along the frontage of what is Clean Earth, that business there. Continue to the north until we get to the railroad. So at the railroad, we will either have to build a new pedestrian bridge over the rail line or follow the same concept over the Pequabic and widen that other bridge structure to get our trail across. So that's the bridge over the rail. Once you get across the rail, it will take a hard turn and head to the east down that existing Plainville, it's like a maintenance road.
Adjacent to the cemetery.
Correct, adjacent to West Cemetery there. From there, it would continue north, upland of the pond here, Toffelon Pond, I want to say. I hope I didn't butcher that pronunciation, but continue north along the upland area of the pond where we tie into our phase 2, where we're building a tunnel underneath Route 72. So that section of the alignment north of 372, we have a pretty good handle on the design with that section moving forward because it's mostly wooded, so we're able to utilize the existing woods and existing town-owned property. And so once we get south of the Pequabic River that we run into those design challenges.
This is gonna come to the back of the cemetery?
Yeah.
Yes, but closer to the pond, so follow up on top of the slope of the pond.
Okay.
All right, any other questions, any other follow-ups? I mean, I think from my perspective, and, I guess we're looking just for a consensus to continue on to that next step. I certainly am okay moving to that next step.
Okay.
Having said what we've said here tonight, and hearing that there are going to be opportunities for the public to speak, and everybody who wants to can have their time to say what they want to say. So, I look for any other council members. Is everyone comfortable with letting them go to the next
I'm comfortable with moving forward, but we can still make changes.
So again, this is a concept or a preliminary design.
Yeah.
So what does preliminary mean? There's going to be changes, right? I don't want to say that, we're going to move the trail to the other side of town, but there's a lot of design details that we'll sort out. And
Yeah.
same thing, we've done this with the phase 2 section, and we've done this on the phase 1 section as well. When things have come up that we felt needed the attention of the town council, we brought them to the town council and had them review them, such as additional parking lots or design using the outskirts of Tomaso Nature Park. So, we will be in continued communication with the council moving forward for sure.
Because I want to see this get done, and I was just elected last November, so this was new, and I think parts of it are good, but parts of it I'm not in favor of. It does feel a little unsafe, but I think that's something that just discussions forward we'll have to figure out. And as chairwoman, or Councilwoman Moranti said, some creative changes is a good word for some of the areas. But I'm good to proceed forward, but yes, I do have some thoughts on areas that I think don't work.
One comment that we get a lot across all of our projects is, oh, when we go to the public, it's, well, you're going to build it anyway, and that really isn't the case. That creativity, we get that from the public input, right? We have 7 or 8 board members here, council members here, but when we have 200 residents that see its use every day, we get a lot of great ideas, and that's where the creativity really comes from, because we are all in the area, but really it's the adjacent property owner. So it's very challenging to come up with a concept before the public sees it that the public's going to love, but that really is the nature and the benefit of that public outreach process, is to get that input, and then the public eventually sees that input get put into place if that seems to be a prudent alternative.
All right, thank you. Everybody, you got a comment?
I do. I'm okay with moving forward at this point with no hard yeses on anything, but at the next time we talk, I'm gonna need a lot more information on land acquisition.
And that is one of the primary goals of our discussion today. So we got a ton of great comments. We're taking notes, and we're going to take those notes and we're going to review it, and we'll offer responses, and we'll take a look at the design. Implement those comments as well. But that's really what we're looking for here. Is this is a concept. This is a color plan. It's completely. We won't. What we need is to get hard numbers with our survey data.
Okay.
And
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else?
Yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm in favor of moving forward. I still do have some concerns about the intersections and the safety of the intersections. There's a lot of traffic there, and it goes very fast. So if you, in agreement with Councilman Gettleman, where next time we meet, it's less conceptual and more where we have some concrete answers to the questions that we've asked you tonight.
yes, of course. So, specifically those intersections, whenever we meet next and have those discussions, we'll have that analysis. We'll get that analysis completed so we can give you those numbers and that hard data. Same thing along the corridor. We can actually start putting our design into our survey, designing it actually on survey and getting those actual acquisition numbers.
Thank you.
And typically what we'll do for something like this kind of procedure is, we'll prepare for public info, we'll prepare for that public outreach. But before that, when we get those materials together, we'll meet with you all first with some of that data so that, again, when the constituents ask you questions, you have some of those answers. And we can, have every single property, because we know we're going to get all those property owners out. We'll have that property with, dimensions on exactly what that looks like, and, what the impacts will be. We've talked about coordinating with improving driveways for that access. So there's a hefty amount of public involvement. But yeah, before we go to the public, we can certainly meet again, show you what we're going to be presenting, with a little bit, the information we receive that, that is echoing what you're getting from your constituents, and have you more prepared to answer those questions when we show this to the public.
Okay, thank you.
And
Chairman.
Yeah, hold on
one thing I'd like to echo is, so as we move this design ahead, we'll continue to coordinate with property owners. We'll reach out and talk to every single impacted owner. We built a good relationship with the town manager's office where, we won't go out and speak to the property owner until they're notified. So we'll continue to do that.
Okay. Councilman Hurley, you had a question or a comment?
Is there any research done as far as you folks are concerned as to coming the south side of the airport? Wait a minute, the east side of the airport, west side, the Britain side.
Yeah, that's the
airport.
east side.
Along the tracks or continuing to route to route?
Hopefully along the tracks in the sense that that would be the straightest way to come through town, is to pick it up from where it ends right now, and then pick it up from there and come straight instead of going up north and coming up through the company that's in the woods there, come around the airport and come straight into the town, into our parking lot back here and come this way. Has there been any look at that?
So there was a comprehensive study done with the town and with the Council of Governments as well that analyzed over a dozen different alignments through the town of Plainville. Some of those alignments did feature the trail to the east, as you're mentioning. I can't 100% picture the trail, like the alignment that you're describing. Problems that I do know that exist there, one, the rail. Basically, the state of Connecticut DOT does not really have any authority over the rail due to interstate commerce. Additionally, that is all the Pequabic River floodway, which is very sensitive. So I know there was Robertson Street Extension. There was a neighborhood years ago that has seen significant flooding. So it'd be really difficult for us to put additional fill or any kind of structures over there, and then have future flooding in the future.
Okay.
And Dan, there was a lot of discussion. I was on the council, and there was, like Bill has mentioned, there was a lot of different alignments used in that section. But I think staying to the west of the airport ultimately, I think, was the driest. Not to oversimplify it, but was the driest and probably the least amount of groundwork that would need.
Shortest way
Yeah.
to get through town.
So I know once we got to Cronk Road, coming straight, that created issues because that area tends to flood a lot. I mean, it used to flood, now it floods a lot more than it used to, but yeah.
And that study is online at just gapclosure.com. You can find the full study there completed.
And I think we may have it on the town website as well.
It's linked.
It is linked, so yes. All right, anyone else, any other council members, any comments or questions? So, I just want, again, to say, if anyone has anything they want to say to the council, we do have the town council at Plainville, /ct.gov. If you do want to, otherwise, we do have a meeting next Monday. You're welcome to come make comments at that. However, as I think we've all understood, is there will be a lot of communication going on as we move forward, and the town will do its best to keep everyone informed, especially those in this particular neighborhood. I thank the state for coming back and giving us some time. And if everyone's all set, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll see everyone next Monday.
Hey, thank you, everybody.